Hello walkers, it's Mike from Living Walks. So we're walking with John. John's been here on the island for several years. He's been a financial advisor to some prominent UK politicians. He's also actively funded games development, like the UK gaming scene, and that's a subject close to my heart. John's been very helpful to us. I mean, after 20 years of coming to this delightful island, we finally realised that it's time to make a home here, a base, for which we can still travel and film. And so stay with us all the way to the end. I think you're going to really find this interesting. Here we are in Santa Catarina Park, glorious Funchal. And I'd like to introduce you to John.
Morning. Welcome to winter.
Well, you're very brave. You haven't got a jacket on today. I applaud you, sir. I applaud you.
I've just ended a career of 50 years in financial planning. But I originally started out as a scientist with IBM down in Hursley.
Okay.
Where frankly I was competing with geniuses and not doing that well. But no, this chap came to sell me insurance, and I'm 23 years old, I've got no money, nobody cares whether I live or die, and I think this man's an idiot. But then I suddenly realised I couldn't afford the suit he was wearing.
Ah, right, okay, yeah.
Certainly couldn't afford the car he had. So I quizzed him about his job and finished up changing to the insurance business. And then we branched out into a state agency. And then I was very lucky. When I was 40, one of the institutions bought me out because they wanted estate agents.
Right, okay.
So my practice then went back to quite a small business, which I enjoyed doing, mainly in pensions management and structuring products like that.
Right.
But I wanted to, I always thought retirement was a rather strange concept. You know, you save up till you're too old to enjoy it. And
yeah, you hear that quite a lot, didn't you? People waiting for their retirement.
Yeah, and so I saw some people just not last long enough to enjoy it. So my idea was to have a quarter of the rest of my life in retirement and doing in non-income producing work.
Right, yeah.
But I didn't know my date of death, so I didn't know when to start. So I decided the only way of solving this was to have 3 months off every year, which is what I did.
Oh, so when did you start that?
48 years ago.
Oh wow, oh right.
And it works. It works.
Oh,
and you don't necessarily travel or just travel. You know, you go back to school. I went back to Oxford for a 6-month period 3 years ago. That was very enjoyable. I was a better student then than I was when I was younger. So. But you travel, you enjoy life, rather like you do. It's the freedom is to write your own agenda instead of somebody else writing your agenda, telling you what you're supposed to be doing every day.
Yeah.
To actually take the responsibility of deciding what you want to do, planning in advance, and also making sure you've got the wherewithal to make that succeed.
Yeah. So out of all the opportunity you had, John, to live in different places around the world, what was it about Madeira? Well, you know, Portugal and Madeira specifically then?
Well, originally it wasn't on the cards really. I'd already arranged to retire in New Zealand and Vancouver. I thought that's where I'd get my permanent summers. I'd already got the visas, I'd already got that sorted out, had the properties, ready to go in 2012. But, as they say, if you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans.
Yes. Well, the devil's got big ears, whichever one you go for. Yeah.
Unfortunately, my wife got sick and didn't make it. She died. But I'd been giving these talks for a friend of mine at the embassy on moving to Portugal. And so we started to look at that as a possibility. Then I was very lucky to meet a lovely young lady and remarry. And Martha thought New Zealand was a bit far. We looked at Portugal in depth, went up and down the coast 2 or 3 times, and then finally came to Madeira and just fell in love with it. And more heart than head, it just made sense.
Yeah.
So I have no regrets, and if I did have one, it would be I should have done it earlier. We bought a property here thinking originally it would be a holiday place, but then...
I was going to say, shall we pop down this way, John? We'll head down towards the promenade and we just see what's happening on the water as well as we have a little chat. Yeah, so you bought a place here.
Yes, and it's sufficient for our needs. It's very central. It has a garden with it, and we use the excess capital to generate income for us, to top up the old pensions.
I was just going to come in there. I mean, one of the reasons why we do so much travelling, I think really we realised years ago that by travelling, we were able to see how different people were living their lives in different countries and at different stages in their lives. Maybe just to give us ideas, what is, you know, an average day at home and then the difference between an average day here?
I think the biggest difference is that I've gone back to the job I used to enjoy doing in estate agency. I formed my own real estate business, not to sell houses, but to help people buy, because newcomers here assume that it's like at home, the property transaction, and it isn't.
No, that's right.
So that makes you vulnerable in all sorts of ways to making mistakes. So if we can have a service where we do the research for clients, we narrow it down, we help them negotiate, we find them a good lawyer, we find them a good tax person that suits their needs. We help them choose a good realtor to work with that suits their personality, because it's not everybody, and there's too many realtors to work with. You've got to really work with one properly.
That's right.
So, and we charge 1% for doing that, and but it's a great way of meeting new people. We've got to put together our social networks. We've come to a different place. We've got to replace some of the social side of life, the people we deal with, and it's a great way of meeting new people. My wife's a very sociable sort of person. So for instance, the ladies' coffee morning, that became the ladies' lunch club, that then became the wine tasting club, at which point the guys were invited. Now there's a dinner party club, and then there's fractions off that. That little group of about 5 or 6 people is now at about 50 or 60 people, and it's a community almost, and you splinter off into smaller groups. Very sociable.
You never know who you're talking to. Like, I mean, it's just curious this morning how just, although we've talked plenty of times before, but just over coffee this morning, realising that we knew some of the same people at home. We both had a, part of our careers were in games development.
My financial planning practice is a little bit different, that I would put projects together for clients. So on the games business, I would do the tax structuring, I'd do the enterprise, the entrepreneurs relief aspect of it, the tax planning, and I was interested because I've still got the anorak from the IBM days. I enjoyed mixing with people far smarter than me on the game side. Yeah. So.
Well, you don't want to be the smartest person in the room sometimes, do you? You want to be the
opposite.
Well,
I've no danger of that. I was always in the half that made the top half possible. So
I'm curious then, there's lots of people you've helped and are helping at the moment. Do you find there's some commonality in what people are either looking for or moving away from?
No, I think everybody's a bespoke case. That's one of the interesting things about the job. The commonality is the method in which we adopt to try and find the right. See, the people coming to the island don't necessarily have a lot of time.
Yeah.
So we've got to make the best use of that time when they arrive. So typically, we'll talk to a client, they'll tell us essentially what they think they want. And then we'll probably research about 40 properties and find 40 properties that fit, narrow that down to about 10, and then on their visit, we can go and visit those 10.
Yeah.
Funnily enough, in about 70% of the cases, we've found within that 10 something that really resonates with the client. And then they'll either go with it or they won't. If we don't find it, we repeat the exercise until we've found it and got it right. They need to open a bank account, they need to get the tax number sorted out, which is rather like a national insurance number.
Yeah.
So we can help them get all those in place, introduce them to helpful bank managers, for instance, knowledgeable and practical tax and lawyers who can actually make sure that they get looked after in the purchase. Most of the clients that we come across are a little unusual. They've got their own unique features. Quite a lot are either senior management or entrepreneurial, or they've had some artistic side to their life. They've been more imaginative than most. They're not stuck in a rut.
Okay. And so, do you find that people, like when they have their eye on someone like this, are they coming to retire, or are they coming to literally start a new phase of life? Maybe start a little business or something on the side.
Well, it's a new chapter, isn't it? I mean, it's quite disrupting to go from work to no work. It's nice to be able to phase that in for some people. It helps to be somewhere where it's sunny 300 days a year. To wake up in the morning, that makes you smile every morning, which is pretty good.
It is.
I think the other thing which is very important, particularly compared with the UK, is that the cost of living here is about half of England, and that is getting wider. Makes people more comfortable. They have more money that is not already pre-spent every month, so it gives more choice.
Yeah. So John, much appreciate your time. Thanks for walking and talking with us. What I'll do is I'll leave your details in the description and on the screen. If someone would like to get in contact with you, maybe have a chat about the opportunities here coming out here. Thanks once again. I'm going to leave you all the view of Funchal Promenade, Madeira. Until the next time, take care.